Hey everyone, good afternoon. We are coming to you live from the Group M office this afternoon, and very excited to be hosting the IAB Programmatic Teams event webinar for you today. So first of all, my name is Johnny Lung. I'll be your host this afternoon, and along with me, I have the rest of my programmatic team here. To my right, and we'll be talking soon, we have Jimmy Poon from Bliss Media. We have Sharon from Google, Andy from Group M. Also joining us by our call is Sally from Hivestack, and also Franny from SCMP and Jenny from Verizon Media is here today. We're very excited to be talking to you guys about our topic this afternoon, really about really trying to talk more about privacy and what's the changes that's going to be coming up to our digital marketing. So definitely have a lot in store for you guys today. Really, what we're going to do first as well too is we recently had a programmatic survey that was sent out, and big thank you for all of those in attendance that have participated in the survey. We do want to talk about some of the recent trends and changes that we're seeing. As well, we have some very distinguished guests that's able to join us today to talk about the ID solutions with Mike from Google, Lisa from Verizon, and Doug from the Trade Desk. And after that, we do want to dive a little bit more in depth with them, along with Don from Group M, who is joining us as well, where we want to discuss what some of these changes and the impact that it will have onto our digital marketing. So with that, without further ado, I'd like to pass it along to my fellow committee member, Jimmy, to talk first about some of our programmatic changes.
Hi, thank you, Johnny. Hi, everybody. It's good to see you all here. It's difficult to talk with this mask on. One of the things I want to share with you today is the results of our programmatic survey. We do it every other year, and this year we have done it, and we're actually, the sort of respondents we got was 3 times more than we did 2 years ago. So that's quite exciting. There are 25 questions in total. We won't be able to share that with you all today. We will be publishing it, releasing that. So as member of IAB, you will get a copy of that, as well as the people who have participated. So today we have 6 key findings to share with you. Sally and I will be sharing those with you. So the first one we're looking at right now is, that's a very important question we are all asking. What is the key to realize more programmatic spend in 2021 and 2022? So more money, more money. How do we get more money? So we look at the first thing is you see, now the thing here this year, we do it, the analysis a little bit differently. We used to have one big bar chart and look at the answers, but we thought maybe it's better to break it down into the type of respondents and what they're looking at. So overall, we can see the one with the highest bar would be better data. And that's one of the reasons today we are focusing on data. Okay, so the data team look at data, but we look at data specifically in terms of programmatic. And second one we look at would be transparencies. So those are, and trust, that's kind of a key part in any kind of a relationship. And then you look at that, and then if you look at specifically, if you can kind of break it down, with the color you look at, for example, if you look at the biggest piece in terms of, let's say, the orange part, the biggest piece is actually on the right-hand side, which is, say, education. So if you're coming from an tech vendor side of things, maybe what you see as the most important might be a little bit different from the overall trend. So when you get a copy of this report, I encourage you to look at it in terms of not just the big picture, but also look at it as in terms of what brands and advertisers are looking at, and so on and so forth. The next thing, I pressed the wrong computer. So many here. So what we are looking at, the second thing here is the kind of, what sort of data are you using for programmatic activation? So a lot of the brands are looking at right now, we see, is the first party data. And in this new age, first party becomes gold because it's your own people. And then we look at the second one, which is third party data, and looking into the second party data. I'm very interested in not available, that one person is very honest about the fact that they're not using any data at all. In this case, that's also kind of bring us into the third part of that is, as you use all this data, this is the input. How do you output? What kind of format are you seeing growth? So this is very encouraging. If we look at, so we ask people, do you think you're going to spend more? And for those who say they want to spend more, what area you think would grow? So look at the biggest piece of the pie is the red piece, video. So a lot of people look at video being quite important because it would be able to tell a story in a totally different way. And then the second one you look at is digital out of home. That means people are coming back out. People are going out again. So I'm very excited, and that will be, it's about time. You know, we have almost 2 years of staying at home, and now we get out again. And then the third one would be display. Now, looking at all this, what about in terms of the next part of it? Sally's going to walk you through the next 3 key points. Sally.
Okay. Hi, everyone. So we also asked the respondents that how much more do you expect to buy through programmatic channel this year? So there are over 67% of respondents that expect to buy more through programmatic channel this year. And we find out that about 83% of respondents, they actually expressed that they will spend at least 10% to 30% more budget on programmatic channel this year. So this is a very exciting news. And next slide, please.
Okay.
Yep. And we also asked the respondents that, so how prepared are you for the cookieless change? So when you look at the chart at the left-hand side is the one being the number one being the least prepared, and then 10 being fully prepared. And we find that actually, 76% of ad tech vendors think that they are really well prepared for the cookieless future. So, so we are really looking forward to the presentation today because different ad tech vendors will actually share the solution and where are the insights. And then followed by 59% is actually from publisher. They are also well prepared for the cookieless change, and then agency is about 40%. And then we also find that brands were the least optimistic because only 8% of them said that they are well prepared for the cookieless change. So today that will be a great sharing. So hopefully more advertiser and brands understand more what will be happening in the future. And next slide, please. And lastly, we also find that when we asked the questions, how impactful do you think the removal of cookies will have to your current strategy? The advertisers actually buy through programmatic because of data and also performance. But interestingly, we find that almost half of the respondents think that the removal of cookies is actually at the level of somewhat impactful, and then and also no major strategy impact as of this moment. So these are the 6 insights that we find out from the survey that we'd like to share with you all. So I will pass the stage to Johnny at a guest, and then we will be sharing more information about the cookieless solution and the trend. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. For myself, when we're looking at digital marketing, and for a lot of digital marketers, cookies has been a very important part of like how we've been going about our day-to-day business to date. So I think it's definitely something that's really on the top of our minds is what's going to happen post-cookie and in a more privacy-first world. So on that note, the Programmatic Committee is just very, very proud that we have a few guest speakers today that is able to talk a little bit more about the solutions and what they have to offer on here. So without further ado, first up, we have Lisa Chen, our Senior Manager of Strategic Solutions at Verizon Media, that's going to be speaking a little bit more about their solution there.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
Mm-hmm.
Great, thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is Lisa Chen from Verizon Media Strategic Solution. I'm very glad to join today's session to talk about our identity solutions. Yep, thank you. So every day there's a new article or new podcast or new videos trying to talk about the changes or introduce a new solution. So we're here to break down the complexity and introduce our offering and how they fit into the broader market proposed solutions. Next slide, please. Thank you. So the industry is going through major changes. On the one hand, we have the industry regulation and changing privacy laws across the globe. And on the other hand, we have the deprecation of third-party cookie and also Apple's privacy updates on iOS 14. All this has a result a decrease of identity-based inventory. Today, 30% of opportunities are without identity. But by 2022, numbers will dramatically increase to 75%. Advertisers, of course, are going to be impacted by this. Identity-based inventory will be easier for them to target by using the existing solutions, but it's going to become more expensive. So it's very important to also adopt solutions that can help them with those non-addressable inventories. And even though this adjustment isn't going to be easy, as they will need to learn from scratch how to use those new solutions, advertisers who figure out this now and learn how to function in a cookieless world will gain the lead. Next, please. As a large publisher with a robust pool of first-party data, Verizon Media's diversified data enables us to link into new and alternative identity solutions. We are taking a three-pronged approach to tackle this challenge in our ecosystem. It's rooted in our consumer and privacy-centric value. The first is Verizon Media Connect ID, a solution for persistent identity, creating a user identifier within the Verizon Media app platform without the needs for third-party cookie. The second is the next-gen audience. We recognize that a large swath of supply will not have the addressability, or as a brand, you might not be interested in pursuing login-based solution. So we are launching additional IDless solutions to drive value where we do not have the persistent identifier of a user. Finally, and last but definitely not at least, we are partnering across the industry to develop industry-wide solution and better scale of our business. Next. Thank you. A bit more detail on the Verizon Media Connect ID. So this is a cookieless solution enabling our client to recognize users consistently across the web and match to a persistent identifier. We can deliver a higher rate of audience on publisher site, and also advertisers can target users in a privacy-first manner. The strongest profile are built using persistent authenticated ID, such as email or customer ID that require a login. When a customer log on from different browsers or devices, or make a purchase with a credit card, the ID graph links this first-party data to the various bits of data used to uniquely identify this person across devices. Once you establish a person, the real value is all those rich data set or data signals that you can associate with the person over time. Connect ID enables onboarding, activation, and measurement in cookieless environment in the app platforms. Next, please. Next is next-gen audience. So this is the first to market offering that help advertisers reach audience, optimize and measure the effect of their campaigns when mobile ID or user identifier are unavailable. How does it work? We use our high-performing first-party data to train the model, as well as the publisher's data from Connect ID adoption. This helps us segment existing login publishers' traffic, even if it's a small percentage of all overall traffic, and learn about the audience composition of their authenticated traffic. The model then projects those learning on traffic coming from non-addressable environment by leveraging the real-time signals from the bid request. We infer audience characteristic, enabling advertisers to reach audience effectively and with meaningful ad experiences. We have different sets of next-gen audience. Next-gen demo and next-gen interests are already ready in the platform, and we will also continue to bring more in our platform. Next, please. Yeah. So finally, we are also forging partnership with leading independent entities and data providers. This partnership allows us to offer online and offline measurement solutions at scale and across channels. Additionally, we are continuing to collaborate with industry partners to explore, evaluate, and develop privacy-friendly solutions for adoption at scale. So the goal here is for us is to ensure that publishers are able to monetize, marketers are able to deliver relevant ad experiences, and also consumers are able to exercise meaningful choices while enjoying the free internet. Next. So that's it for the solutions. But what does it mean for advertisers or agencies? I think there are a couple of things that it's very important that you can start doing to stay prepared. First is to start building relationship with your customers, understand what their needs are, and take the ownership of your first-party data. This can be done in-house or to work with a third-party solution, CDP, DMP in the market, or there are consulting firms that can help you to manage your data, storage, and also analyze the data you have. Second is start implementing changes today, so you can continue to measure the impact of each changes and get comfortable with the new reality. Finally, evaluate the platform and the proposed solution from those platforms. Ask questions and make sure you understand the solutions. This isn't the end of the privacy challenges, and we all need to think long and hard about which platform that will be able to provide sustainable solutions as we make the investment decisions. We believe that our direct relationship with our consumer and our first-party data assets and partnership have positioned us well to be both regulation-proof and also cookie-proof. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Lisa. Definitely very interesting and learning a lot about Connect ID on here. So next up, we have Doug to my left here. He representing from the Trade Desk, Senior Director in Inventory Partnerships, who will talk to us a little bit more about Unified ID. Hey guys, can you hear me? Well, I guess it's okay. First off, today, I'm delighted to be invited by the IAB Hong Kong to have the opportunity to present about Unified ID 2.0. First and foremost, at TTD, we believe that the best digital advertising thrives on the open internet. We also believe that the deprecation of cookies marks a pivotal moment in time within our industry, especially around digital. Because did you know that cookies were invented since 1994? And that's a long time ago. Unified ID 2.0 identifier enables a login experience for publishers and websites, mobiles and apps, and CTV apps to monetize through programmatic workflow, benefiting from several layers of security and privacy measures. UID 2 presents a massive upgrade and opportunity to provide a collaborative long-term framework for all of the industry leaders and players across the industries and consumers to have a healthy open internet. We have developed UID 2 based on IAB's Project ReArc framework. By definition, the initiative of Project ReArc aligns all key stakeholders, re-architecturing the digital marketing and support core industry use cases while balancing consumer privacy and personalization. The guiding principle of the design includes maintaining the value exchange. We believe that paywall and micropayments have its value, but in APAC, we know that that's not very true for the majority of the population. No solution has came close to offering ad-supported free content internet. Riding on that message comes another design principle that is building consumer trust. As an industry, we had done a poor job in explaining the value exchange to our consumers. Opt-in languages are often hidden at the bottom of the privacy policy. Consent frameworks such as GDPR and CCPA introduce a myriad of site overlays. We want to ensure our solution will put consumer back at their driver's seats. By having our consumer at the driver's seat, the ad experience will need to be better and not worse. If publisher loses the ability to serve targeted advertising, what will happen is that more ads will need to be shown in order to generate the same amount of value. Targeted advertising helps eliminate the spray and pray approach to conversions across the open internet. Since we're talking about publishers' approach, maintaining seamless access to content is crucial. We agree with the IAB to propose email as the foundation for a potential cookie replacement. However, we must ensure every solution
involves email needs to be implemented in a way that does not create fragmented sign-in experience and also be privacy friendly. Last but not least, while it is not 100% clear on how things will play out, but one thing is clear, and that's the need to federate power and control of the internet. Organizations such as IAB Tech Lab and prebid.org will have to play a leading role here due to their independence. If we do not federate the power and control, what we see will happen is the control of the internet will be taken away from independent advertisers, independent publishers, further cementing control to a handful of companies, which I will not name. Our solution provides a standard way to hash and encrypt email addresses, which will replace the cookies on what we call the fabric of identity. It is an upgrade because it is designed to be lightweight so that we can hand off the governance to the rightful parties. And on top of that, it is decentralized so that it is secure by hashing and rotate salts. It will also give more control to independent regulation by creating an accountable framework. Unified ID is here and now today, and also in APAC. I'm delighted to announce that in Japan, one of the leading SSP Flux, which is owned by Voyage Group, part of Karat Holding, will adopt Unified ID 2.0. We have also recently announced Meitu, the leader in photo editing and sharing, will also join and be part of the ecosystem. And within Hong Kong and Taiwan, within the next couple of weeks, you'll be sure to be hearing a lot more around your local markets announcements. Across the entire programmatic advertising ecosystem, we're delighted to see so many future-focused industry leaders across SSPs, publishers, data and management partners, and DSP participating in the UID2 ecosystem. I just want to say thank you for the entire ecosystem here at this slide. I literally put thank you for all of the players to participate. We want to work together and continue to move on to live in the future privacy safe world. To close, at TTD, I wanted to share how we envision the cookieless future. We'll be working across multiple ID-based solutions such as LiveRamp, Identity Link. In fact, LiveRamp already shared that their IDs will be made interoperable with UID2. Think of it as the currency exchange rate. UID2 will be one of the circulating currency, and Identity Link IDL will be another. So we can all talk to each other and communicate and transact. In the odd case of an IDless environment, COA for IDless environment will apply, COA, which is our AI engine, will apply insights from the ID world to drive these models and extrapolate measurements, while everything is transacting in the common currency. At TDD, we will also support and participate with other industry solutions such as the Privacy Sandbox, SKI Network, and Safari private click measurements. Thank you very much. And back to you.
Thank you very much, Doug. So I think for myself and for a lot of digital marketers and our participants out there, so we just had 3 solutions that have been presented to us within a half-hour time frame, and it's definitely very heavy. And I think one of the questions that we have is, well, what's next, and what are some of the questions that we should be asking? So on that note, I'm definitely very excited that Dom Benton from Group M is joining us from Singapore. He's the data and platform strategy lead. And what we want to do is definitely invite all of our speakers back in, and we just want to have a little bit of a kickoff on a discussion on what's next and what can we do in terms of building towards that privacy first kind of solution on there. So in terms of questions, definitely something that I want to kick off and start asking is, what does the future of our digital world look like, and what are some of the challenges and opportunities that we'll have when it's a privacy first environment? And Lisa, I think if you don't mind, I'd like to see get your input and how you can kick us off on this.
Sure. Yeah. So I think we all agree that the the IDless will definitely be the next chapter of the digital world. Users has concerns on how their data is being used, being collected and shared. So both the regulations and the tech companies have rapid changes so both the regulations and tech companies had rapid change on the addressability. So the immediate challenge is that we no longer can do things we used to do. So like, all kind of different targeting, media buying, frequency capping, and also the measurements are not as easy as we used to be, or also the precise. All these changes will make us job harder. But this is also an opportunity for us because users do have the desire for personalization. How to better understand our customer through a transparent and trust-based data collection process is very important. And also, we should also explore different channels to communicate with our consumers. I think advertising will get past being annoying. And also the increased ability to target with new data, different touch point and opportunities. EdTech and advertising will become more service and utility lead rather than push for conversion lead. Remember, it's only like 10 years ago, Steve Jobs bundles the iPhone, iPad, and internet all together in one devices. So IoT will be changing the definition for advertising entirely. Thank you.
Thanks for that input, Lisa. So I think I'm going to direct this more for Dom. After hearing Lisa talk about what their stance on for the future of the environment, the privacy first world, from an advertiser, from an agency perspective, what does that mean for you? And especially after hearing what Lisa had just said.
Yeah, I think from our perspective, we need to make sure that our clients fully understand all of the different technology offerings out there. And I think because we've gone from a cookie solution, which is like a single solution that works across the whole internet, and there were different solutions built on top of cookies, which was difficult enough to understand. Now we have different solutions built on top of different technologies. It's almost 2, 3, 4 times more difficult to understand. And a job for an agency or a consultancy firm is to basically be able to, teach and support clients through this like myriad of different solutions out there for them to be able to make the best decision. Because at the end of the day, the agency's job is to show different solutions and explain them, but it will always fall on the client to make that end decision on what they want to go with, what stack they want to build on top of, or which DSP they would like to partner with or use. So there's a job for an agency that is around that kind of teacher, if you like, for the client to be able to understand this. But I think we've touched on it already. The whole point around trust, like what's coming in the future, we don't know, but I can guarantee you right now we're probably not even 50% of the way through the changes that we've had since 1994, as we mentioned earlier, that date. We've entered a time where people and with the ability of social media and interconnectivity, internet, people now form groups of opinions much quicker and much easier. And things like, machine learning. I don't know if you guys have seen the Coded Bias documentary on Netflix, which is really good if you haven't seen it, but people are now more aware of how technology is being used and how their data, more importantly, is being used more than they ever have done in the past. And that scares them more than it ever has done in the past as a result. So I think part of our, as an agency, part of our job for supporting the clients is also supporting the supply side of things and the technology partners that we work with to ensure that the message is getting across to the people that we're advertising in front of, to make sure that we're doing things in a way that they're comfortable with.
Thanks for that, Dom. You mentioned solutions, and you mentioned various solutions being picked up here, and I think that kind of transitions to one of our next questions on here. And that is like for everyone, what their opinion on is for contextual targeting, and what would be some of the pros and cons of using contextual targeting in this new privacy first ecosystem. And Lisa, you mentioned that 75% of all ad opportunities will be without identity by 2022. So how much of contextual will play a role in that?
I think that's pretty much most of them will be placed by contextual. So I think we are using the contextual right now, and this is something that especially people put more attention after the cookies deprecation, because this is actually more privacy first or less privacy concern and regulation concerns on contextual targeting. But because there are also some disadvantages previously, like people might think that this might not be a very precise targeting, and also the contents or the contents might not align with visitors' interest. But with the new ecosystem, by advancing the machine learning and also adding more signals with users login data, the evolved contextual targeting can be very useful in the cookieless world. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. So contextual is still growing and will get even bigger. That's some of the themes I'm hearing. Dom, are advertisers taking advantage of this or utilizing this right now, or is there still a huge learning curve that they will need to go through? What's your opinion on how we're utilizing contextual targeting now?
Contextual targeting has been here right from the early days of when it first came into the industry, and it will be here for many years to come. It's a valuable tool when used in conjunction with other solutions. I don't think we're going to see advertisers running 100% contextual advertising. There is still huge value in data-based or identity-based solutions and targeting people based on their their interests or their actions that they've performed in the past. So, I use an example frequently, like Nike, for example. If Nike were using contextual advertising to advertise on a sports article, does that guarantee that that person is interested in Nike? No, because there are other brands in the sports category. So it doesn't necessarily work for an advertiser specifically to know that the person you're targeting is interested in your brand. So first-party data will always trump solutions like this. But having said that, it is a good way of increasing scale and casting the net further afield.
Thanks, Dom. So you mentioned, like you can't just over rely on one solution or one strategy and whatnot. So I think a very broad question, just to kind of really open it up, is what must brands do to basically thrive in this new ecosystem? So is there a different strategy that we can partake in whatnot? And for this, I guess I'll just bring this to my left. Doug, like what's your take in order for brands to thrive?
I love the interactivity between us two. Well, here at the Trade Desk, we offer a very consultative approach when we work with our clients direct. But if we were to give any sort of recommendation, one thing is really just to be incredibly well versed in data, its policies, its collections, its utilizations. Understand that difference between like a cohort-based identifier like Flock or individual identifiers like Connect ID or UID2. Being able to extrapolate data creates a common currency of transaction. Long-term is vital, so that's the way I'll think about it. But one of the main things is brands actually, I think Dom just mentioned, has an incredible opportunity now to harness the power of the first-party data. In the cookieless world, first-party data becomes much more important. Advertisers are looking for effective, secure ways to activate their first-party data, then tie it to a wide range of measurements and performance solutions. So over time, I mean, I think just be incredibly well-versed, just to ensure, we're going to move into a new world. I mean, when you think of COVID-19, we solve problems, right? COVID vaccine rollouts are not perfect, but it evolved, and each one of us live in different markets, have different experience, but as a world together, when we move into a privacy-friendly world, privacy first, privacy-friendly world, we'll adopt and we'll get well.
Thanks, Doug. Lisa, do you have an opinion on what brands must do first to thrive in?
Oh yeah, so I think, as I mentioned earlier, that also mentioned by Don and Douglas, that first-party data is very important. So it's really the very fundamental for brands to understand. So start building up the relationship with your customer, understand what their customer needs is very important. Also, the first-party data, how to collect that in a trust and transparent way from the users is also very important. The users, they expected the personalization. So they also want to have a better experience while they are browsing the internet. So how to interact with your user in a transparent and trusted way is something I think that's very important for brand, and also to interact with their consumers.
Thanks, Lisa. And I know, Dom, you mentioned first-party data. So from an agency perspective, working with the brands, what can the brands do now, and how can the agencies, how can they move their agencies to start helping them?
Yeah, I think I'd even put it the other way around. I'd say it's the agency's responsibility to take this strategies to clients. I think that it breaks down into 4 areas: audit, evaluate, decide, and implement. So for an auditing perspective, an agency should work with a client to understand what are they currently using in terms of buying platforms and data collection. What data are they collecting, both online and also offline? Auditing all of that information enables us to be able to recommend to clients what best strategies to use in the future. And therefore, that helps also evaluate all of these different solutions. There is not going to be a single one-size-fits-all approach to all of this. One solution will work better for certain campaign strategies than others will. Once you've done all of that, then you can decide on, as I said, which solution you're going to actually use for your specific use case, and then implement that strategy. So I think that process there, all the way right back to basics in terms of auditing all of the data that's being collected, evaluating which partner or solution to use, and then implementing that, is basically where an agency should focus their short-term energy on.
Thanks, Tom. So I guess it's safe to say that this the whole catalyst of these the privacy and IDless solutions started when there was the announcements of the removal of cookies with Chrome and browsers. But cookies isn't the only way that we do advertising, right? There are a lot of different advertising channels, for example, that don't use cookies at all. So how does, a question here, definitely our next question is, how does the trend of cookieless channels like CTV or DOH, how are these affected in a post-cookie, in a privacy-first environment? And should brands be looking to invest more into these here? Doug, since you say we have such great banter, I'm just gonna pass this question back to you.
Okay. So at the Trade Desk, I think we don't look at them, as channels defined, whether it's cookie channel or cookieless channel, but rather we create on-ramps for our clients to activate media across channels. So we want to make sure that these email-based identifier like Unified ID 2.0 can holistically tie cross-platform identification, seamlessly bridges the identity across device. When I think about CTV, CTV is where the users are now today. I mean, with the advancement of our technologies, with the advancement of the internet speeds, users are now, using their mobile device together while watching on the big screen on a CTV set-top box or whichever ways you prefer. the way we think about this is, again, back to understanding how we can identify the user, whether it's on a household level or whether it's on an individual level, whether it's on a cohort-based level, just being able to tie it together with a common currency, like, multiple ID solutions. I think really understanding how you are going to tackle this framework. In terms of digital out of home, I think in the beginning of today's talk, we talked about when people are starting to come back out. That's a great way to see that programmatic adds that value here because it offers flexibility and scale. You can actually know, because you never know during the pandemic, there's times when people don't go out, or there are times when people go out, and programmatic activation creates that, non-guaranteedness, the ability to just turn on and turn off, the ability to frequency cap. And I've also, took reference to one of the State of Nation report for Hong Kong done by View, which is one of our partners. He said 82% of Hong Kong's executives are open to investing more in digital out of home, including programmatic, which is showing signs that investments across these channels are important. I mean, if you think about digital out of home, eventually there are solutions that will require activation on the device levels, and those will be definitely modeled, whether it's a cohort based or whether it's an individual identifier based. So all of these, again, we don't want to think of it as cookie or cookieless channel. We just want to create on-ramps for our clients to activate their data. Thank you. Should I pass it to somebody else?
No, you can pass it back to me.
I'll pass it back to you. This is the most interaction we have.
Definitely. I think there's a lot to take in terms of how we view that. But from Don, I guess back to you, from the agency advertiser perspective, are you seeing changes in how advertisers are viewing these cookieless channels?
I think we should also caveat potential growth of these channels with the fact that they are still very new channels in comparison to other solutions. There's the Trade Desk and Kantar released a study at the beginning of this year. I think that was just for Southeast Asia, but it's probably a consistent story across other markets within Asia that has seen significant increase in OTT user engagement. So the length of time and the frequency of time that people are spending consuming their video content across internet-based systems rather than linear systems is definitely increased, probably helped by the pandemic. Are we going to go back to pre-pandemic levels? Probably not. It's probably, whilst the quantity might not be exactly the same, the probably trend is fairly consistent. For digital out of home as well, again, fairly new technology, especially in this part of the world. But the cookie aspects of that is also slightly different. A lot of the data that's used to help target these systems is based on location data, which opens up further questions. I know that we're going to come on in a little bit to talk about ATT and other mobile-based regulations and how that's impacted it. So again, we're not at the end of any of the challenges with these different technologies. CTV has always had, especially if we're talking about things like PlayStations, Xboxes, or the TV itself, identity challenges themselves too. So it'll be interesting to see what more solutions come out to help us manage the identity within those technologies as well.
Thanks, Don. I'm going to jump a little bit ahead here, just very sensitive of our time, but I do want to ask one big question, especially with a lot of our participants in APAC, and it's a very performance-driven industry. A lot of KPIs are based on performance. So I think for a lot of them, that big question that's on their mind is, how will we be able to run and optimize towards our performance campaigns, given the removal of cookies next year?
I'll add a little bit. I mean, I always think about it as, right the day before the final exam, and you always wait till the end, and then you try to stay up all night just to study for that next exam. And at that time, you have the balls and ace the exam, right? Right now, I think the timing is the preparation time, like 2 weeks before the final exam. we have to start. That's the moment in time I wanted to sort of focus our thought process around this. We know that we will be working with multiple ID-based solutions to ensure measurement and attribution holds. At TTD, like the way we think about partnership is there's one word often comes to mind, and that's the word of symmetrical. Whether it's between a brand and agencies with their vendors or between an independent publishers with their vendors. An example of activating first-party data at the user grain level, which is privacy compliance. Suppose the brand gives out their first-party data on a consented user grain level, respectively. In that case, the brand and agency should have the rights to activate and own decisioning across their buys at the user grain level while respecting user privacy. That's what I'll call symmetrical partnership. If the brand and the second example I'll give is if the brand and agency gives out user grain level data and can only receive a summarized report back and cannot activate that data, that's what I'll call that asymmetrical partnership. So if you're a brand or a publisher or an independent media that wants to control your long-term playbook, learn to live in a world that is going to center around consumer privacy and control, which we're going to move towards, and it's great for all of us. Just really learn about the IDs, just really learn about all of the solutions. Feel free to come to us. Our doors are always open, and we'd love to share some of our knowledge as well, or guidance or recommendations. Last but not least, the internet is always going to evolve, and I think as a team, we'll fix
it. Definitely recurring themes on there about like working with the agencies, working with the brands together, and adopting on some new strategies. Dom, like, do you agree? Is there anything more that you'd like to add versus what's being said? And is there anything missing that brands can be doing right now?
There's a suggestion that brands could start utilizing these solutions early. I don't think it's a bad idea to test some things to make sure that they're ready for D-Day, but whilst we still have solutions, the pre-existing solutions working, there's no need to potentially scupper their current campaigns for that test. So I think they should primarily still be running with what they have been doing in the past, which they know works. And when it's ready, when the time is, as Doug mentioned, last minute cramming, then maybe that's the time that we think about additional testing. I think when it comes to performance campaigns and how do we make sure that we're still running good performance campaigns, there's no guarantee that any strategy that we run right now will work in a campaign, and we optimize in a campaign as we go. And I don't think that's going to change. As I said earlier, there's multiple different solutions out there. We will go with different strategies in a campaign, and we will optimize to the ones that work. That will remain the same. The only thing that will be different is the strategies will be different to the ones that we use today.
Thanks very much for that, Don. I think that kind of sums it up pretty well here. So I think that brings us to the end of our panel presentation here. But first of all, on behalf of IAB Hong Kong, on behalf of our Programmatic Committee, I definitely want to thank Lisa, Mike, Dom, Doug for joining us on here today. I definitely learned a lot. It's a lot for me to kind of sit and marinate and kind of take in and how we can apply it. Personally, I think this is a little bit of a wow moment for me, because I'm sitting with three of the biggest tech partners in the world here. And it seems like they've agreed on a few common themes here, is that cookies are going away. You need to kind of rethink the way that you're doing your strategy. You need to start now, and first party data is extremely important and vital part of that. And leverage on your agency, because they are going to be coming out with ideas and solutions and how to drive all of this for you. So definitely very excited about what the future is going to unfold. And like what was mentioned earlier, the internet's always going to be changing. So So on behalf of IB, again, thank you very much for everyone for attending our webinar today. Definitely, please share your thoughts via the QR code there. We'd love to get your ideas on how we can get this better and do this better. Again, cookieless identity solutions is not going to be going away, so we want to hear from you. Thank you, everyone.